What's going on YouTube? This is Ribo back at the new workbench that is not complete yet, but will be soon. And I am once again at the underside of the bench, unfortunately for you, the viewer, but here we are. So today I have another cut or carry knife review, and this time we are looking at the Kizer Sheepdog. This is in the Micarta configuration, or the Micarta version. If you have watched the channel, you know I'm a pretty big fan of the Kizer Mini Sheepdog, primarily the titanium version, although I do love just the regular G10 Vanguard series. And so I picked this one up because I had yet to try out a full-size Sheepdog, and so have been playing around with it for a couple weeks, and wanted to give my thoughts. So let me just do a quick size comparison, and obviously the only choice really that makes any sense is the Kizer Mini Sheepdog. So you can see kind of how those stack up. So this one is pretty large compared to the Mini Sheepdog. And I'll go ahead and pull out the knife that's in my pocket, which is the small Sabenza, just so you get an idea. So pretty large knife in terms of like width and overall profile, but not a huge knife. And actually, I take that back. Let me just throw in the PM2 just so you get a sense. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big knife. It doesn't feel quite as long as I guess it is, as you can see with the PM2 here, but definitely a hefty knife. And you don't really get that sense on camera as much as you do when you pick it up, but it is not a lightweight knife. So let me go ahead and talk about the things that I like and dislike about the Kizer full-size Sheepdog. First of all, the Micarta. That's really the reason that I bought this knife. I like the Micarta version a lot. I just think it's a very nice kind of burlap Micarta or canvas Micarta. I guess not burlap. It's really kind of a canvas Micarta, but I like the look of it quite a bit, and that's kind of what attracted me to it. So yeah, I like that. Other things I like, I mean, obviously, you know, this review will probably be pretty short because a lot of the things are very similar to what I like about the Mini Sheepdog. I like the cleaver. It's different, but I like it. I find it fairly ergonomic. I was in the minority on the Mini Sheepdog where I found it very ergonomic. I actually thought it was a very comfortable knife. I almost prefer the Mini to this, but I still do find this pretty comfortable. This little swell right here doesn't work for me quite as well as it works on the Mini, but it's still, I would say, very comfortable. So no real complaints there. I like the blade. You know, this is not your everyday carry knife. This is not your go-to blade for everything, but it can do some things very, very well. Although I'll talk about some of the drawbacks in a little bit. So I think the cool factor of it, I like the blade. It is very hefty, but I like it. Other things that I like, so one thing that really stuck out with me with this particular knife, and I'm kind of split on this, but it's got a very strong detent, and that means I've never failed to open this knife. I think Kizers typically can have softer or weaker detents. This one is super strong, to the point that it's a little bit much, but I do like that it flies out with authority, and that this knife opens pretty reliably. Very reliably, and so I do like that this one at least has a stronger detent, although I think they may have overcompensated just a bit. I like the fact that it's a flipper. I mean, there are pros and cons to that, but I don't know, it fits this knife for me. I know that there's a new version of the at least the Mini Sheepdog that doesn't have the flipper, and I'm interested to check that out and see how that works. But I don't know, something with that cleaver and the flipper, it's bulky and hefty and kind of ridiculous, but I like it. Other things that I like, so this is in BD1N steel, which is fine. BD1N is a fine steel. It's not my favorite. I've found that I have to sharpen it a bit too much for my liking. It doesn't hold the edge that I would wish it does. But it's not a bad steel by any means. So no issues there, and I don't think for the price point that's a problem at all. And that's probably about it in terms of things that I like. So let's go ahead and do things that I don't like about this knife. Okay, so some things. So first of all, it's just massive. It's huge. I mean, it's kind of like carrying a brick in your pocket, you know, both from a weight perspective and also from an overall profile. This is huge. I mean, this is almost, yeah, it's like having a second iPhone in your pocket or something. So that's not great. I mean, you can kind of excuse that on the Mini because it's Mini. But this one, that's tough, right? So that's one thing I don't love. The other thing that I really loathe is the pocket clip here, which unfortunately has no change from the Mini. It's just terrible. There's really nothing redeeming to say about this. It's an awful pocket clip. I don't understand it. I don't get why I mean, you can do better than this, my goodness. It's to me, like, not much clearance here. It's just it's very tight. It's, you know, a very small lip here. It's hard to get in the pocket. Visually, it just looks like a second blade on the knife almost. And I don't get it at all. That was one of the ways that the titanium version excelled over the G10 Mini. But yeah, the pocket clip's terrible. Other things that I dislike, so I mentioned that the detent is much stronger. It's a little bit much. If I'm pulling the blade out, I mean, I'm kind of rocking that there, but I mean, I have to really pull that blade, and you can really feel it leaving the detent ball hole. And so, you know, I'm happy that it's a stronger detent. It's a little bit much. Other things that I dislike, so I guess I'll close on this. A lot of the utility that this blade and this knife have in a small version kind of goes out the window in the larger version. And what I mean by that is, I think I reviewed this and kind of said it's a great niche knife. Like, it's not for everything, but it's great for some things. It's an awesome box cutter and box opener and, you know, cut tape and that kind of thing. Like, it does some things really, really well. The problem is, on a large version, you really don't want to reach for such a large knife. You're not going to be carrying a second knife this size. And so you really lose even a lot of the utility, a lot of the maneuverability, where you can kind of wrap your whole hand and use it almost like a box cutter or something. On a knife this large, you lose that. I mean, it feels more like you're carrying a full-on cleaver butcher knife or something like that. Like, you just don't have the same handle on the knife as you do with the small. And so it really loses, to me, a lot of the practical application of the knife, I guess. And so a lot of the things that make this knife great and small just really don't translate to the larger version, at least for me. And so while I love a lot of the things about this knife, and I love the blade profile and all these different things, it just, to me, doesn't work in a larger version. So really, I'm getting to the final conclusions, and you're probably not surprised to hear that the final conclusions are that this is a cut for me. When I got this knife, I was actually impressed with a lot of things. I was impressed with the handle materials. I was really impressed with the action, ergos. Like, it was a cool knife. But what I found was I just never used it because it just didn't have the utility for me. I was never reaching for this to do anything. There's really nothing in a large size that this knife excels at, in my opinion. And this is all subjective. This is kind of to the way that I use a knife every day. But I was just never looking for this except to kind of fidget with it and play with it and, you know, just be an overall kind of knife nerd about, right? But for me, it just doesn't hold up. And so for me, I'm definitely going to stick with the small version, with the Mini. I'm probably going to pick up a titanium version at some point because I really liked that when I got to check it out. But the large size will definitely be going, and I don't think that I'll be checking out the XL. Anyway, that is all for today. Hope you've enjoyed this cut or carry review, and I will see you next time.